Welcome to Channel 36 WeHo, West Hollywood Between Takes, and Dr. Nate Smith, okay? And this is my young co-host here, Keaton, 7 years old.
I'm 6 years old still.
Saturday, and he loves dinosaurs. We live in a dinosaur world here completely. And we do have questions.
I'm making my laboratory right now.
Oh, he's making his laboratory.
Look in the lab? All right.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear.
What motivated you to get into a profession like this, really?
It was kind of a little bit of serendipity. So I went to college I was majoring in chemistry and secondary education. You know, I'd liked chemistry in high school, so I was into science. But I fell into paleontology by chance when I started taking more evolutionary biology classes. And at the small liberal arts college, Augustana in Illinois that I was at, there was a paleontologist there that taught a class in the fall or the winter of my freshman year. And I really enjoyed it. He was a blast to hang out with. And he also ran a field course. So that summer, me and a couple pals were like, well, this guy is a lot of fun. Let's go take his field course. And it was the first time for me being out west, kind of in the Badlands. We collected fossils, we camped out, and I was sold from there on out. So it was right place at the right time.
Yes, because I don't think there's anyone that doesn't like or they're curious about dinosaurs. And we don't know enough about them. You know, Rada? Oh, look what he's putting up. Oh, his laboratory.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
Anyhow, what happened? Why did they disappear from civilization?
Yeah. Well, the most important thing to keep in mind is that they didn't all disappear because we still have 10,000 species of birds. Yeah, he knows back there. Birds are dinosaurs, just like, bats are mammals.
And alligators, I guess, too.
No, so alligators and crocodiles are a different group, but they're the closest living relatives to birds. Yeah. But you're right that there still was a mass extinction event that took place at the end of the Cretaceous that wiped out most of the non-avian, the non-bird, and larger dinosaurs, like the one that you've got on the table there.
Right. Oh, my God. I know there's the king of the dinosaurs. They say T-Rex.
T-Rex, yes, T-Rex.
Why do they call him T-Rex, do you think?
Well, the full name, he probably knows, is Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yay!
And, at the time of its discovery, it was very much the king. It was the largest predatory dinosaur that had been found and remained that way for a long time. We've got a couple other species that are kind of competing for that crown right now. And, there's sometimes a little bit of overuse of the superlative in paleontology of the biggest this or the longest that. I think T-Rex still retains its crown, but we know of a lot of other giant dinosaurs now too.
Right. And some were known for speed,
Yeah,
some were fast, and some went very slow, I heard, right?
Yeah, they ran the gamut. We know that there's a lot of kind of smaller, fleet-footed predatory dinosaurs, some of which are kind of relatives of T-Rex and relatives of modern birds that would have been quite fast. And then you also have your gigantic sauropod dinosaurs, the long-necked plant eaters that are, probably not galloping across landscapes, right? They're plodding along a little more.
When you said gigantic, I know I've seen pictures of these long necks that they use, I guess, to get up in the height of the tree, right?
That was almost certainly one of the advantages of having that long neck.
Okay, I heard, you tell me this is right or wrong, you're digging up fossils all the time, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. And I think they're digging here in LA, Wilshire Boulevard, and they found some fossils there. Is that right or wrong?
Yeah, so the tar pits is part of our museum family, right? So we've got the kind of the main campus where I am, and the La Brea tar pits is also part of our museums. And they have an active dig site there that's constantly yielding new fossils. But also there's been a lot of construction around that area as well. And we do a lot of mitigation work with them.
I go there sometimes.
it's a great place to go. Yeah.
You go.
Whether you're in the museum or outside, just strolling around. But yeah, we have
Golden mammoth, I forgot. The golden mammoth, I forgot it.
that. But that's right. Yeah. So most of those fossils are all from the Pleistocene. So now
Tiger.
that's right. Saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, yeah, all the fun stuff. So there are dinosaurs there, but they're birds, not the dinosaurs.
They're from the snow.
They have a laboratory in there.
Yes.
You have a laboratory in there.
Yep. So there is kind of a public-facing lab that you can go and you can watch our.
You can watch them work and do the fossils and everything
Absolutely.
like that.
I see the glass door.
Why don't you ask him where he digs up the fossils? What country?
What country do you dig up the fossil?
Well, we do a lot of digging kind of right here in the good old US of A. I have a place I go to every summer to look for fossils called Ghost Ranch, New Mexico. It's a little north of Santa Fe. It's a really beautiful place. Georgia O'Keeffe used to do all her painting there. And people have done paleontology there for over 100 years.
Oh my God.
We also have dig sites in other ones in New Mexico, Arizona, Utah.
No.
How about the tools? The tools you use? What type of tools?
Right. They run the gamut too. So some of the tools that we might use when we're out there, they haven't changed in 100 years. We've got a big pickaxe or hammers and chisels and things like that. If we're in kind of harder rock, we can bring in some power tools as well, some jackhammers or rock saws. But a lot of the stuff that we use for excavation, that hasn't changed over the years too much.
How many people go with it? Ask me.
How many people do you go with it?
Oh, that can vary too. So for my Ghost Ranch project, we might have 15 to 20 people at a time. But we've had other field sites where, we've got dozens and dozens of folks there. Sometimes we'll just bring out kind of a carload of people.
Whoa. When you get the fossils,
You have to be careful with them, Gima. Don't forget that.
I know. Do you have to wrap them in something
No.
to keep them nice until you get it to the laboratory? What preparation do you do with
Great
them?
point. So yeah, we have to be very careful with them. So we when we're in the field excavating, we don't want to remove the whole fossil by itself. We want to keep as much of it in the rock as possible. And we kind of leave a little wiggle room on the sides of the fossil in the rock. And then we'll kind of use, this hasn't changed much either. We'll kind of soak some burlap straps in plaster, like plaster of Paris, and we'll kind of cover that all up. So we make like a nice big, we call it a plaster jacket. And it's almost just like a nice big toadstool that contains the rock and fossil that then we'll pull that out, and then everything's nice and safe and we can bring it back to the lab to open up.
There's so much preparation that goes into that.
Dinosaur
So
yet?
much. What, dear?
Can I show him the dinosaur yet?
What? He knows all of that.
I don't know this dinosaur. What dinosaurs are these?
Ooh, I'm not sure about those ones.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
In the book. That's very, very difficult.
They're like raptors.
Yeah, you're right. They're definitely meat-eating dinosaurs. They're definitely theropods. I can't tell too much more by looking at them. Does it say anything in the book? Or?
My favorite is the raptor.
Yeah.
Favorite. I love the raptors.
I like
Yeah, I know you
Look,
have your
this,
favorite.
This is a Parasaurolophus right here.
There you go. I like that crest. Yeah.
It's a squishy one. You can squish it.
Okay,
so
as
it's
a scientist,
a stress dinosaur.
you put a lot of years of studying to do what you do, right? I mean, you have your doctorate, you're a doctor. What is it, about 8, 9, 10 years of doing this?
Yeah, it's quite a bit. So if you tallied it all up, after I got my undergrad degree, I got a master's degree. That was 3 years. Then a PhD degree. That was 6 years. And then I spent a year as something we call a postdoc or a postdoctoral program. That was for a year. That's kind of in between getting a full-time job and after you've gotten your PhD, which is pretty common in our field to do one of those.
Like I said, I've had a lot of interesting and unique individuals on my show. No one in this field. No one at all. And like I said, we're in a dinosaur world today, just about. And it's just so fascinating.
I've been to Utah before, and Do you work at a museum where the Utah Museum? Because I saw Utah Raptor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I've been to that museum a bunch of times, and actually one of my best pals, Dr. Randy Ermis, is the curator and professor at the University of Utah and at that museum. So we work together a lot.
Where you press the buttons and then the dinosaur makes the sound?
I think that's the same museum on the university campus there. It's a really beautiful museum.
I was going to Greece there. I had to drive.
It's a bit of a drive, but I think it's worth it.
Definitely. They said the climate had a lot of change with the disappearance of these creatures, climate change. I wonder, what do you think, what type of climate change was it? I know there was a lot of lava and they were frightened of fire.
And asteroids.
That's a good point. I mean, when we talk about these major mass extinctions in Earth history, there's not always kind of a single smoking gun that we can point to that caused everything. It's usually a bunch of things going wrong at once. And at the end of the Cretaceous, that was kind of the case. We had climate change, broadly speaking, we were transitioning from a hothouse world to an icehouse world. We had massive sea level regression. So you used to have kind of an epicontinental seaway that cut across North America that was receding and going away. And that kind of always tends to coincide with extinctions and loss of diversity, because you think about most of life's diversity is kind of concentrated around the coasts, and you get rid of all that good environment that causes problems. But then we also had the Deccan traps in India, the volcanoes that you're talking about, and the coup de grace, right? The asteroid impact at the very end of the Cretaceous, which in some ways most paleontologists kind of view that as, the cherry on top, the kind of icing on the cake that was the last of a string of bad things that was happening at the end of the Cretaceous.
I mean, these poor things were always fighting for survival, like all the creatures do, and all the animals. But again, people don't know. I mean, they existed millions of years ago.
That's right. They had a pretty good run. I mean, you're talking about dinosaurs kind of first coming on the scene around 225 million years ago,
Wow.
going for about over 100 million years into the end of the Cretaceous. And then again, the birds are still around today. In many ways, we've got 10,000 species of birds. So we're still very much in the age of dinosaurs in that regard.
Right. Very similar, but of course, different species and everything like that. But when I look at the creatures, I don't know how they really got around, because some of them, even T-Rex, had very short arms that came up like this.
2 fingers.
And large feet.
That's right. It was T-Rex was something that was probably no longer using its arms to grasp or manipulate prey or anything like that. It was all business with the head.
It used to it could break through bones.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't need the hands at that point. But let me give you a little bit of T-Rex trivia, right? So it's only got 2 fingers left. But when we make our T-Rex hands, instead of going like this with your T-Rex hands, you should go like this. These are the 2 fingers that it's got left, right? The thumb and that index finger. So T-Rex was out there giving little pinches to all the other dinosaurs.
Like the dinosaur that has like these that use them for weapons. Oh no.
Which is the dinosaur that had the more teeth?
T-Rex or Mosasaurus.
Well, T-Rex had plenty of teeth, probably over 60 teeth.
I think it's because I saw movies.
Yeah.
And some of them had small teeth.
Some of them had small teeth, all kinds of weird shapes and sizes. Some of those, the hadrosaurs, the duck-billed dinosaurs, they kind of evolved these complex tooth batteries where they're kind of all mashed together. And there were multiple dinosaur groups that even lost all their teeth and are what we call edentulous.
I want to ask you, when you're in the museum, I'm sure you walk around. What are some of the things that you hear people say?
We're always kind of
about the dinosaurs.
And I'm constantly surprised about in our dinosaur hall, right? Because we've got a trio of T-Rexes, we've got a huge long neck dinosaur, Triceratops, these amazing mounts. One of the things that always strikes people, and it's what we were just talking about, is we have that map of kind of the end of the Cretaceous in North America, showing that big western interior seaway, that epicontinental seaway. And there's always people that are just, it's not a fancy part of the exhibit, right? It's just a map on a wall. First time that, oh my God, there was, essentially like an ocean that used to run across North America.
Uh-huh.
So I always find it fun to kind of see and listen in on some of those stories as well about like what kind of clicks with people or what kind of amazes them when they're learning something new for the first time.
I want to show them this.
Oh, nice.
I want to ask you, do a lot of women go into this profession?
Yeah. In fact, historically that hadn't been the case. And even in my kind of short time, a little over 20 years in paleontology, I've seen that change drastically in terms of the amount of representation we have in the field now. We're still not doing as well as we could be, not just with women in paleontology, but, diversity more writ large across the field. And the geoscience in general kind of fall behind the other sciences in that. So it's something we're always kind of trying to stay active and at the forefront of encouraging that, building out new programs, whether it's at the museum or in the field, to foster that diversity and kind of get our field more equitable.
Okay. And when you go on expeditions, you go all over the world?
We do, yeah. I've been to China, to Argentina. Another place where I actively work, although we don't go all that often, is Antarctica.
That must be fascinating up there.
It's probably the fun part of the gig is going down to Antarctica for sure.
Could you find them in all countries?
Yeah, so that's a good point.
As well as in the United States?
We know that not long after they get their start, dinosaurs go global, right? They're found pretty much everywhere. I mean, when they first evolve, remember that the continents are kind of still all together in Pangea. But even by the end of the Cretaceous, when they're all split apart, we're still finding dinosaurs on every landmass.
Wow.
Animals, with some new techniques that we have for kind of looking at neuroanatomy and things like that.
It came in, they're making them, their skin all different ways. Some of them have spikes on their back to act as, on the defensive side for battle and everything like that. And some have horns right in front of the face also.
That's right.
For their own protection.
That's one of the fun things about dinosaur diversity is you think, they had hundreds of millions of years to kind of experiment and play around with evolution. We get all kinds of weird aspects of anatomy and form and function.
Uh-huh. I'm looking at the one, some had 4 feet, 5, or
Mom, can I ask them another
the meat eaters. Didn't they have more fingers and they had longer arms?
Yeah, so the one kind of trend we see in the meat-eating dinosaurs is as we kind of get more towards, what you might call the raptors and eventually the birds, the arms are getting longer and longer. Yeah.
I think when I look back and the little studying I've done on these creatures, it seems to be like a fairy tale that they even existed. But they brought them back to life again. We have Jurassic World. We have everything around us to bring them back to life. We have their museums and everything.
I need to ask them a question.
Oh, go ahead. Ask them a question.
You know the movie Jurassic World Dominion?
Oh, I do? Yeah, it just came out, right?
Yeah, I'm going to watch it today. And also, do dinosaurs eat bamboo? Because we have it right here.
What is that?
Bamboo!
Oh,
Do
okay.
dinosaurs eat bamboo? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that bamboo, that plant group was around all the way back into the Cretaceous.
Yeah, you're right.
But I will say, dinosaurs evolved, especially the plant-eating ones, all kinds of adaptations, and whatever was around, there was probably a dinosaur that was able to eat it at one point in time.
Huh. I mean, did they eat bugs?
No.
Oh, probably some did. Yeah.
I guess
because I saw it in a book.
I guess the plant eaters ate bugs.
Yeah, well, we commonly think of dinosaurs as, either carnivores or herbivores, but there is a big spectrum around there as well, right? There are animals that were probably insectivores and opportunistically sometimes eating vegetation. I mean, if we think about diversity of animals around today, even say like us, like the mammals, there's, there are strict carnivores, there are strict herbivores, but there's also kind of a spectrum in between, including us.
In your laboratory, if someone wanted to do cell fossils when you bring them back or prepare them for people to purchase them at all? I don't know. I'm just
Yeah, there is kind of a commercial market for paleontology. We don't really do that at the museum. Our role is to take care of these things, to curate them and all the information and context that comes with them. In some ways you could think of a natural history museum kind of like a giant library for Earth's history, right? Is that we're kind of cataloging and curating and taking care of all that stuff so future researchers can work on it, study it, learn about it, and also we can kind of bring and convey that information to the public, whether it's through exhibits or educational outreach programs. So yeah, and there can be, an issue sometimes with the commercialization of paleontology when sometimes those specimens or that data, that information is lost to science because it gets sold or put away somewhere and isn't available for study.
right. Since you've been doing this, which has been your most fulfilling expedition that you could think of? I know you enjoy doing all of it.
There's a lot. I mean, I probably have to say the times I've been to Antarctica, just because it is so unique and amazing, and I just count myself lucky that I've been able to have that opportunity and get down there, because not many.
Why do you call it unique and amazing up there?
Well, just the landscape and the environment today, right? I mean, it's you're down there and you've got some of the coldest temperatures in the world. You've got.
I mean, that's a difficult job. What you're doing? Come on, you're out of the cold. Are you kidding? Oh my goodness!
It's something else.
It's really tough. And being a scientist.
Nice. I like the get up.
Yeah, that's our little scientist. Do you advise children, if you have any children, would you advise them to go into the field of being a scientist for dinosaurs?
I think I'd probably have to be careful not to kind of put too much family pressure on following in footsteps or anything like that. But I think I'd want to kind of convey some of the same values and curiosity and that kind of thinking in general about careers and about what you want to do with your life. Because I think that can be useful no matter what you do.
Right. I think now this is like an escape. We've gone through so much with the pandemic and everything like that. And I think it's an exciting escape for adults as well as children, okay? And something that we're learning more and more. Like I told them, it's like a work in progress we do, right?
Yeah, and paleontology especially, there are so many aspects of it that are still kind of discovery-driven parts of the science, right? So we can just have a theory totally changed or blown out of the water by a new discovery that happens in any given year or something like that. And that makes it kind of especially exciting for us too.
Do you think these dinosaurs, if you could tell by the fossils, do you think they drank a lot of liquid as well as the food that they ate, or it didn't make any difference, too much of the liquid that they needed?
I'm sure they needed plenty of water, just like all the animals around today. And again, given their diversity, I'm sure there were kind of a range of dinosaurs that were adapted to, needing more or less water. We know we had dinosaurs living in arid and desert environments. So, I'm sure there were, the equivalent of dinosaurs that were adapted and acclimated to be able to do those things.
I know the lava years ago, that was detrimental to them. And of course, fire scared them off. So
fire scare me off, of course.
They had to put up with all the lava coming down and everything and erupting. And that was the most difficult thing of that. I really do think so.
That wouldn't have been a fun day to be around the late Cretaceous, no.
Okay, we want the people to know though, that you are in which area, the tar pit area?
I'm here at the Natural History Museum of LA County, right off of Exposition Boulevard and Expo Park. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So we've got all these dinosaurs we've been talking about. We've got them here on display in the Dinosaur Hall for your viewers to come check out anytime this summer.
You go down to the tar pit. Do you have a laboratory at the other place, or is the laboratory only at the tar pit?
No, we have fossil labs here as well, where we study and prepare these specimens. Yeah. So if you come to the main museum here in Expo Park, or if you go to the tar pits, you'll be able to watch some of our paleontologists actually working on and preparing fossils, behind the glass in the actual labs.
Right, exactly. And I wanted also to ask you with the when they work on the fossils and everything, it's tedious. It's really tedious because you have to be careful with your tools that you don't miss a slip or crack something.
Oh yeah, I like to tell people all the time, this fossil has been there waiting for us for about 200 million years. So let's take our time. Let's do it right. Let's be careful and cautious as we get it out.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy!
This you can see behind you if there's any fossil that you missed.
You mentioned it's your favorite. Before I go, I'll bring over some show and tell.
Okay.
Let's see if you recognize. How about this little critter?
What?
He looks like a raptor, kind of.
Yeah, this is the skull of Velociraptor. This is a cast or a replication of that skull.
Wow.
So there's your favorite, right?
That's actually not my favorite. All of them are my favorite.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, you sound like me now.
Yeah, he sounds like you because it's all fascination and everything like that. Their tails, they use that as a weapon also for fighting with their tails.
Potentially, we think some of these dinosaurs could have used their tails as a defensive weapon. Yeah.
Yeah. It was wonderful, and you're an exciting individual. Fortunate to have you on the show. It's my pleasure, and I wish you the best, and keep doing all of that fabulous work that you're doing. Anyhow, and hope to see you at the museum. Okay.
We'll see you there. Come by.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. Okay, bye.
Bye. Good talking to you.
Bye.